The screaming started at 3:47 a.m. Not my screaming. I'd learned to keep silent months ago. This was Maya, the woman in the cell 3 doors down, finally breaking after 16 days in isolation. The guards would come for her soon. They always did when you made noise. I pressed my back against the concrete wall, counting seconds. 1, 2, 3. The cold seeped through my prison-issue shirt like it was reading my spine. 4, 5. Maya's voice cracked, went hoarse. 6, 7. Boots in the corridor. I knew what came next because I'd been there. They'd drag her to the white room at the end of C block. No cameras. No witnesses. Just Officer Vance and his special methods for making women remember their place. My name is Chen. I've been inmate number 84762 for 11 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days. I killed no one. I hurt no one. But that doesn't matter behind these walls. What matters is what you know. What matters is staying alive long enough to use it. They threw me in here for corporate espionage. My crime was discovering that Warden Castellanos was running a trafficking operation through the prison laundry contract. Real goods went out. Something else came back in. Money moved through accounts I could trace but couldn't touch. When I tried to report it, I became the criminal instead. The doors slammed. Maya went quiet. I closed my eyes and did what I always did. I planned. Morning count happened at 6. The fluorescence buzzed to life and I was already sitting on my bunk, hands visible, eyes down. Rule 1. Never look guards in the eye unless they demand it. Rule 2. Never be the first to speak. Rule 3. Survive until you can't anymore, then survive anyway. Officer Reeves walked past my cell. Young. Nervous. Knew enough that she still saw us as people instead of inventory. That made her dangerous in a different way. Hope was more lethal than hate in this place. Chen, she said quietly. You got a visitor request. I hadn't had a visitor in 8 months. My parents stopped coming after the 4th appeal failed. My brother sent letters for a while, then stopped. The world outside had moved on. I was already a ghost. Who? My voice came out rough from disuse. Reeves glanced at her clipboard. Says attorney. Name's Elena Voss. I didn't know any Elena Voss. My public defender had given up months ago. This was something else. Something that made my pulse quicken in a way I'd almost forgotten. When? After breakfast. 30 minutes. The cafeteria smelled like bleach and something rotting beneath the industrial fryers. I took my tray, found my corner table, and ate mechanically. Oatmeal. Coffee that tasted like rust. An apple so bruised it was more brown than red. Across the room, I watched the ecosystem function. The Latinas controlled the south wall. The white supremacists owned the kitchen line. The black women ran the commissary trade. Everyone else navigated the spaces between, trying not to get crushed. I belonged nowhere. That was intentional. Belonging meant debt. Debt meant control. I'd learned to be invisible, which was its own kind of power. But someone was watching me. I felt it like a hand on my neck. When I looked up, I found her. Sonia Reyes. She ran C block from cell 7, somehow wielding influence despite being locked down 23 hours a day. Her eyes met mine across 40 feet of prison hierarchy, and she smiled. That smile meant something. In here, nothing happened without reason. The visiting room was divided by plexiglass scratched opaque from 1,000 desperate hands. Elena Voss sat on the other side, perfectly composed in a gray suit that cost more than my entire legal defense. She picked up the phone. I picked up mine. Miss Chen. I'm not actually your attorney. Straight to it. I respected that. Then who are you? Someone who believes you saw something you shouldn't have. Someone who thinks you're smart enough to have documented it. She leaned forward. And someone who needs that documentation before you become another suicide statistic. The guard at the door was looking at his phone. We had maybe 3 minutes before he paid attention again. What makes you think I'd help you? Because in 2 weeks, you're being transferred to Blackwood Correctional. Her eyes held mine. Do you know what happens to women who know too much at Blackwood? I did. Everyone did. Blackwood was where problems disappeared. The mortality rate was classified. What do you want? The account numbers. The routing information. Every piece of Castellanos' operation you managed to catalog before they buried you in here. And in exchange? You survive the next 2 weeks. Then we make sure the transfer never happens. I studied her face through the scratched plexiglass. She wasn't lying, but she wasn't telling the whole truth either. No one came to a maximum security women's prison to save one financial analyst unless that analyst was worth more alive than dead. I need proof you can deliver. Elena slid a newspaper across the partition. Today's date. Front page, Federal Investigation into State Prison Contracts. My old firm's name in the headline. We're already building the case. You're the missing piece. The guard looked up. Time was ending. The information isn't in my cell, I said quickly. It's in the library. Melville. Moby Dick. First edition replica. Page 847. The microfiche is taped inside the spine. Elena's expression didn't change, but I saw the recognition in her eyes. How do I access it? You don't. I do. But I need something first. The guard was walking toward us. Maya. Cell C9. She knows something about the laundry routes. Get her out of isolation. Keep her alive. Then we talk. Time's up, the guard announced. Elena stood. 3 days. That's all I can promise. I hung up the phone and let them cuff me again. As they led me back through the corridors, I did the math. 3 days to keep Maya alive. 2 weeks to survive until the transfer. And somewhere in that window, a chance to burn down the system that had buried me alive. The odds weren't good. But they were better than yesterday. That night, Sonia Reyes sent me a message. In prison, communication happens in layers. The obvious, shouting between cells, notes passed during count, whispers in the shower. The subtle, position of items on windowsills, patterns in laundry collection, the way someone walks past your cell. My message came through the third system, the one most people never learned existed. During dinner, the woman serving mashed potatoes held the spoon at a specific angle. 45 degrees. Left tilt. That meant, expect contact. Tonight. Be ready. At 11 p.m., my cell door clicked. Not unlocked, just the magnetic seal loosening half an inch. Sonia's doing. She had leverage over one of the night guards. I never learned how, and in here, you didn't ask questions like that. I waited 5 minutes. Then I pushed. The corridor was dark except for emergency lights every 20 feet. I moved like a shadow, barefoot, counting steps. 15 to the corner. Left turn. 22 to cell 7. The door was already open. Sonia sat on her bunk like a queen holding court in a concrete throne room. She was 50-something, built like she'd spent half her life fighting and the other half training others to fight. Gray streaked her black hair. Scars mapped her knuckles. Sit. I Saturday. You had a visitor today. Attorney who's not an attorney. Not a question. Sonia knew everything. What did she want? Information. About the warden's side business. Yes. Sonia studied me in the darkness. You're smart enough to know that information gets you killed. Smart enough to know giving it away might save you. But not smart enough to understand who else dies when you talk. Explain. Castellanos runs the laundry operation. Money in, product out. But that's just the surface. Underneath, he's trafficking women. Not drugs. Not weapons. Us. She let that sit. Every month, 3 women from this facility disappear. Transferred to Blackwood, the paperwork says. But Blackwood never receives them. They vanish somewhere between the transport and the gate. My stomach turned. How long have you known? 2 years. I've been documenting every disappearance. Names. Dates. Which guards drove the transport. Your financial records match my timeline. Together, we have enough to bury him. So why haven't you already? Because the moment I move against Castellanos, I'm on that transport. My daughter on the outside thinks I'm serving 10 years for manslaughter. She doesn't know it's really life. And if I disappear, she'll spend the rest of hers wondering what happened. Sonia's voice cracked, just slightly. I need immunity first. Your friend can arrange that. She's not my friend. Then make her your ally. Because in 6 days, they're moving me to Blackwood. And if I go, everything I know dies with me. We sat in silence. Through the walls, I could hear Maya sobbing 3 cells over. Still in isolation. Still breaking. What do you need from me? I asked. Access to your evidence. Combined with mine, it's bulletproof. But more than that, I need you to survive. Because if they take me and you're still here, you're the only one who knows the whole truth. Maya knows something too. About the laundry routes. Sonia nodded. She worked intake for 2 months before they moved her to C Block. She saw the manifests. Knows which trucks carried what. That's why Vance broke her. They're making sure she can't testify. She's already broken. Then we put her back together. Or we lose everything she knows. A sound in the corridor. Footsteps. We both froze. Go, Sonia whispered. We never met. I slipped out, pressed against the wall, counted the guard steps. He was checking cells randomly. Protocol deviation. That meant someone had noticed something. I made it back to my cell with seconds to spare. The door sealed. I lay on my bunk, heart hammering, and recalculated everything. The conspiracy was bigger than financial fraud. Women were disappearing. Sonia had 6 days. Maya was being destroyed in isolation. And I had evidence that could end it all, hidden in a book nobody read. But first, I had to get to the library. And that meant navigating Officer Vance. Day 3. Maya was released from isolation. They brought her back during morning count, and I barely recognized her. She'd lost weight she couldn't afford to lose. Her eyes were hollow. Her hands shook when the guard uncuffed her. Elena had kept her promise. Whatever strings she'd pulled, they'd worked. But looking at Maya now, I wondered if we'd saved her too late. I approached her during yard time. The sun was out, rare for this time of year. Women clustered in their territories, smoking contraband cigarettes, settling debts, negotiating survival. Maya sat alone against the north fence, staring at nothing. I sat down beside her. Didn't speak. In prison, silence can be an offering. After 5 minutes, she spoke. You got me out. Someone did. Why? Because what you know matters. Because women are disappearing and you saw how. Maya's hands clenched. I don't know anything. I don't remember anything. Vance made sure of that. But you do remember. Somewhere under the fear, you remember the manifests. The truck schedules. Which drivers took which routes. She turned to me then, and I saw something fierce beneath the trauma. If I tell you, he'll know. He always knows. And next time, isolation won't be enough. Next time, I'll be on that truck. Not if we move first. We. There are others. People on the outside who can use what you know. But only if you trust me. Maya studied me. I could see her weighing options. Trust meant vulnerability. But staying silent meant death. Thursday nights, she said finally. The white truck with the blue stripe. Driver named Marcus. He doesn't stop at Blackwood. He goes 2 hours further, to a warehouse near the state line. She closed her eyes. I saw the manifests. 30 women in 8 months. All listed as transfers. None of them ever processed at Blackwood. Do you remember the warehouse address? Route 47. Mile marker 83. No street name. Just a number on the gate, 2847. I committed it to memory. It wasn't enough on its own, but combined with my financial records and Sonia's timeline, it formed a map. A map that led directly to Castellanos. What happens now? Maya asked. Now you stay quiet. Don't talk about this to anyone. Not your cellmate. Not in the showers. No one. And you? I get us all out of here. I left her against the fence and walked back across the yard. As I moved, I felt eyes tracking me. Vance stood by the guard tower, watching. He knew something had changed. He just didn't know what yet. That night, I requested library access. The library was a small room off the education wing, rarely used, poorly maintained. 40 shelves of donated books, most falling apart. The librarian was an inmate named Teresa who'd been inside for 23 years and had memorized every volume. Looking for something specific? She asked when I entered. Melville. She led me to the classic section. We have 3 editions. Which one? First edition replica. Teresa pulled it from the shelf, held it for a moment. Heavy book. 800 pages of whale hunting. Most people don't make it past chapter 10. I'm patient. She handed it over. You have 1 hour. I found a corner table, opened the book, and went to page 847. The microfiche was exactly where I'd hidden it 11 months ago. A tiny square of film containing every account number, every transaction, every piece of evidence I'd gathered before they locked me away. I palmed it, closed the book, and sat perfectly still. The door opened. Officer Vance stepped inside. Chen. What are you doing here? Reading. He walked closer. You don't strike me as the type who reads Moby Dick. Then you don't know me very well. His hand dropped to his baton. I know you had a visitor. I know you've been talking to Reyes. And I know you're up to something. I held his gaze. Rule 1 was never look guards in the eye unless they demanded it. But this was different. This was survival. I'm reading a book, Officer Vance. That's all. Stand up. I stood. Hands on the table. I placed my hands flat. The microfiche was pressed against my palm, invisible but damning. Vance circled me slowly. You think you're smart. You think because you worked in finance, you're better than the rest of these animals. But you're not. You're just another number waiting to disappear. Is that a threat? It's a promise. He grabbed my wrist. For a second, I thought it was over. He'd feel the film. He'd find the evidence. Everything would end right here. But then the door opened again. Officer Reeves. Vance. Warden wants to see you. Now. He released my wrist. We're not done. Yes, we are, I said quietly. He left. Reeves stayed. You okay? She asked. I'm fine. She looked at the book, then at me. Whatever you're doing, Chen, be careful. This place eats people like you alive. I know. She escorted me back to my cell. As the door sealed behind me, I opened my hand and looked at the microfiche. All the evidence. All the proof. Now I just had to get it to Elena without getting killed in the process. Day 5. Sonia's transfer was in 48 hours. I had the financial evidence. Maya had given me the warehouse location. Sonia had 2 years of documentation. Together, it was enough to dismantle Castellano's entire operation. But only if we could get it outside these walls. Elena came back during visiting hours. This time, she brought someone with her. A man in a dark suit who looked like he'd spent his life prosecuting people like Castellanos. This is Assistant U.S. Attorney Marks, Elena said through the phone. He's authorized to offer immunity in exchange for testimony. Marks leaned forward. Miss Chen. We've been investigating this facility for 8 months. Your evidence, combined with other sources, gives us everything we need. But I need to know you're willing to testify. I need guarantees first. For me. For Sonia Reyes. For Maya in C9. Full immunity. Protection. New identities if necessary. Reyes is scheduled for transfer in 2 days, Mark said. We can stop it. But only if we move now. Then let me tell you what we have. I described everything. The financial records. The warehouse. The pattern of disappearances. 30 women in 8 months. All vanished. All documented. Marks took notes. When I finished, he looked at Elena. This is bigger than we thought. Which means you have jurisdiction to act immediately, Elena replied. We'll need the physical evidence. The microfiche. Reyes documentation. Everything. How do we get it out? I asked. Elena smiled. You don't? We do. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be a medical emergency in C block. Reyes will collapse during count. The ambulance that responds will be ours. She'll bring her documentation. You'll slip the microfiche to one of the EMTs during the chaos. That's a lot of moving parts. It's the only way. Once the evidence is out, we file emergency injunctions. Castellanos gets arrested. Vance gets arrested. The whole operation shuts down. And us? Marks met my eyes. You walk out of here the day after we file charges. All 3 of you. It sounded too good. Too clean. But I'd already committed. There was no going back. That night, I passed word to Sonia through the laundry chain. Everything was set. Tomorrow morning. 6:15 a.m. Be ready. I lay on my bunk, unable to sleep. In 12 hours, this would either be over or I'd be dead. There was no middle ground. At 3 a.m., my cell door opened. Not the magnetic click of Sonia's arrangement. The full mechanical unlock. Someone with authorization. Warden Castellano stepped inside. He was in his 60s, grey hair perfectly combed, suit immaculate even at this hour. He looked like someone's grandfather. He ran a trafficking operation that had disappeared 30 women. Miss Chen. We need to talk. I sat up slowly. About what? About your upcoming transfer. I understand you've been stressed about it. I wanted to personally assure you that Blackwood is a fine facility. Much better than here, actually. I didn't request a transfer. Nevertheless, it's been approved. You leave tonight. My blood turned to ice. Tonight. In about 20 minutes. I wanted to explain personally. You see, I know what you've been planning. I know about your meetings with Reyes. Your conversations with Maya. Your little evidence collection. He smiled. And I know that tomorrow morning, you were hoping to walk out of here. You can't do this. I already have. The transfer order is signed. The transport is waiting. And in about 6 hours, you'll be exactly where you've been trying so hard not to go. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Miss Chen? That microfiche you're carrying? You can keep it. Where you're going, evidence doesn't matter. The door closed. Locked. Final. I had 20 minutes. I pulled the microfiche from its hiding place in my mattress. Stared at it. All that work. All that documentation. Worthless if I couldn't get it out. Then I remembered. Officer Reeves. Young. Nervous. Still saw us as people. She was working the night shift. I went to my door and knocked. Once. Twice. A guard appeared, not Reeves. I need to see Officer Reeves. Medical emergency. No medical until morning. I'm pregnant. The lie came easily. And I'm bleeding. That got his attention. Liability. Documentation. A pregnant inmate bleeding out was a lawsuit waiting to happen. I'll get someone. 5 minutes later, Reeves appeared. Chen, what's going on? I need you to take something. Don't ask questions. Just take it and get it to Elena Voss, the attorney who visited me. I held out the microfiche. Reeves stared at it. What is this? Evidence that women are being trafficked through this prison. Evidence that will save lives. Including mine. I met her eyes. Please. She looked at the film. At me. At the corridor where guards patrolled. If I get caught. You won't. You're off shift in 2 hours. Just walk out with it. Make one phone call. Reeves took the microfiche. Slipped it into her pocket. What happens to you? I don't know. She nodded once and left. 10 minutes later, they came for me. Vance and 2 other guards. Cuffs. Shackles. Black hood over my head. Time to go, Chen. They led me through corridors I couldn't see. Downstairs. Outside into cold air that smelled like diesel and fear. A van door opened. They pushed me inside. As the engine started, I heard another voice. Sonia. They got you too, she said quietly. Yeah. Did you get the evidence out? I think so. The van drove for 2 hours. When it finally stopped, they pulled us out. Removed the hoods. We weren't at Blackwood. We were at a warehouse. Route 47. Mile marker 83. The exact location Maya had given me. Castellano stood waiting, flanked by men who weren't guards. Private security. Well armed. Miss Chen. Miss Reyes. Welcome to the end of your investigation. He gestured to the warehouse. Normally, women who arrive here get sold. But you too? Your liabilities. Which means you disappear completely. Sonia and I stood side by side, hands cuffed behind our backs. This was it. The end. Unless Reeves had actually made that call. Unless Elena and Marks had moved fast enough. Any last words? Castellanos asked. I smiled. Just one. Now. Spotlights erupted from every direction. Vehicles roared into the lot. FBI. U.S. Marshals. State Police. They surrounded the warehouse in seconds. Federal agents. Drop your weapons. Castellanos' security team didn't even try to fight. They threw down their guns and hit the ground. Smart. Resisting federal agents at this scale was suicide. Elena appeared from one of the vehicles, followed by Marks. She walked straight to us, cutting through the chaos like she owned it. Officer Reeves made the call 20 minutes after you gave her the evidence, Elena said, producing a key for our cuffs. We've had this warehouse under surveillance for 3 hours. We were just waiting for Castellanos to show up. My wrists came free. I rubbed circulation back into them. What about the others? The women already sold. Mark stepped forward. We have Castellanos' client list. Every name. Every transaction. We'll find them. Sonia turned to watch as they loaded Castellanos into a federal vehicle. Is it really over? For him, Elena said. The question is what happens to you now? We had a deal, I reminded her. Full immunity. Protection. New identities. You both testify, you walk away clean. Sonia looked at me. Did you know they'd be here? I hoped. But I wasn't sure until the lights came on. She almost smiled. You're tougher than you look, financial analyst. I learned from the best. 6 months later. The trial was front-page news for weeks. Warden Castellanos. Officer Vance. 14 other officials. All convicted. All facing life sentences. The trafficking network was dismantled. 23 women were recovered and returned to their families. 7 more were still missing, but the search continued. I testified for 3 days. So did Sonia. So did Maya. Our immunity held. Our protection held. And when it was over, they gave us new names and new lives. I never went back to finance. Instead, I work for a non-profit that advocates for prison reform. Funny how life works. The system that tried to destroy me gave me purpose. Sonia reunited with her daughter. They live somewhere quiet now. Last I heard, she was teaching self-defense classes and writing a memoir. Maya started therapy. She's rebuilding piece by piece. Some trauma doesn't heal quickly, but she's trying. Officer Reeves received a commendation for her role in breaking the case. She left corrections afterward. Said she couldn't work in a system that had enabled such horrors. I respect that. Sometimes I still wake up at 3:47 a.m., thinking I hear screaming. Sometimes I count seconds in my head for no reason. Sometimes I press my back against walls just to feel something solid behind me. Prison leaves marks that don't show on skin. But I survived. We all did. And that matters. Because survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about staying human. About keeping enough of yourself intact that when you finally get out, there's still something worth saving. The prison still stands. Different warden now. Different guards. But the walls remain the same. And inside those walls, women are still counting seconds. Still planning. Still surviving. I hope they make it out. I hope they find their Elena. Their Reeves. Their moment when the lights come on and rescue arrives. But even if they don't, I hope they remember this. The quiet ones are always watching. Always planning. And sometimes, the woman who never speaks is the most dangerous one in the room.